During the 1870s, the average workday for the trades was around 10.9 hours a day. These people were also getting paid very little. While they were at work, they were treated horribly. The workers were also very overworked and tired. Many people started falling asleep on the job because they did not get enough rest at night. The average number of hours of sleep these workers were getting was around 7 hours. With the average hours a day spent working being 10.9, their bodies do not get enough sleep to repair the 10.9 hours they worked. Strikes started to occur after what these workers realized what was happening was wrong. The Great Railroad Strike of 1877 can be credited with starting the labor movement. It started after a 10% decrease in wages of railroad workers. It occurred all around the country but started in West Virginia. The state militia and USA Army were called out to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They were ordered to these cities to make sure the strikes did not get out of control. Pittsburgh, 1892. The Homestead Strike occurred in Homestead, Pennsylvania in 1892. It was a loss for the unions, but it changed the unions forever. Some of the workers from Carnegie Steel were a part of the Amalgamated Association of Iron, Steel, and Tin Workers. The AA won a very difficult victory prior to this over wages and working conditions. This was set to expire 3 years later. 3 years later, when the contract was about to expire, Andrew Carnegie told Henry Clay Frick, his manager, to do whatever it takes to break apart the union. During June of 1892, Frick began locking out workers and closing parts of the mill. This failed to discontinue the union, so Frick closed down the remaining parts of the mill. The mill was set up like a fortress: water cannons, snipper towers, and barbed wire. This was all done just to keep the workers out. Pinkertons were called in to take control of the mill back. They were going to surprise the strikers. The strikers were told about the plan, so they went back to the mill to push the Pinkertons away. Before surrendering, a firefight broke out. After the Pinkertons surrendered, 3 were dead and 9 strikers died. Then, the Pennsylvania State Militia was called in to take control of the mill. Bunkers-like buildings were built to allow non-union strike breakers to stay at the mill. The outside was also guarded by the militia. When the furnaces were relit, the strikers tried to stop the relighting but were met with guns. Many workers were arrested and charged. None of the Pinkertons, however, were charged. The was plant up and running again, but the union was almost gone. Alexander Berkman came to Pittsburgh and tried to kill Henry Clay Frick. Frick survived being shot and stabbed. After this, the strike was finally ended, and the workers went back to work on Carnegie's terms. The highlighted strikes were the 2 major strikes that influenced the creation of labor unions forever. However, these are not the only 2 strikes that occurred leading up to the creation of the Department of Labor, 1913, and labor unions. Some other very notable strikes were the Haymarket Riot and the Pullman Strike. Even after the Department of Labor was created, strikes still occurred. In all, the strikes highlighted in this documentary were the major strikes that influenced the creation of labor unions.